Hi everyone, I'm Jamie, and welcome to EPT, English Podcast Time, the show where we discuss fascinating topics to spark your curiosity, and maybe even learn something new along the way. I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Sophia.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today as we dive into the evolving ideas around family, marriage, and parenting. Today's episode is all about how Millennials and Gen Z are reshaping what family means in today's world.
It's such an exciting topic because we're truly seeing a revolution in how younger generations define family. Traditional family structures have been changing for decades, but Millennials and Gen Z have taken it even further. They're rethinking not only the roles of parents but also what family means and who we include in that definition.
Exactly. And one of the most significant changes we're seeing is in how people approach marriage and parenthood. More and more people are delaying marriage, or choosing not to get married at all. And for some, the idea of having kids isn't even on the table.
Yeah, let's dive into that. Mia, why do you think Millennials and Gen Z are moving away from the traditional idea of marriage and having kids in their 20s?
There's so much to unpack here, but I think a big part of it boils down to the realities of modern life. First and foremost, there are massive economic pressures that didn't exist in the same way for previous generations. Think about it. Housing costs are through the roof, student debt is at an all-time high, and wages haven't kept up with inflation. When financial stability feels like an unattainable goal, it's hard to imagine taking on the responsibilities of marriage or raising a family.
Yes, that's a major factor. For generations, marriage and starting a family were seen as natural milestones in life, often in your mid to late 20s. But now, for a lot of people, those milestones feel more like distant dreams or even burdens.
Totally. And beyond finances, there's a broader cultural shift happening. For many Millennials and Gen Z, marriage doesn't feel like the cornerstone of adulthood anymore. There's this growing idea that it's okay to focus on yourself first, your personal growth, your career, and even your hobbies, before making a lifelong commitment.
Right. It's no longer about checking off life's to-do list in a certain order. It's about creating a life that feels authentic to you. I think there's also this realization that you don't need to be married to have a meaningful, committed relationship.
Exactly. The concept of what a partnership looks like has become so much more flexible. You can live together, build a life together, and even raise kids together without ever getting married. And for some people, that's more fulfilling than following a traditional path.
Absolutely. And while we're on the subject of partnerships, let's talk about parenthood. We're seeing more people delay having kids or choosing not to have them at all. This is a big shift, and it's something that older generations sometimes struggle to understand.
Definitely. For Millennials and Gen Z, the decision to have kids is a deeply intentional one. It's not something people just do because it's the next step. It's about asking hard questions. Am I ready for this responsibility? Can I afford it? Is this the life I want for myself?
Yes. And for some, the answer to those questions is no. And that's okay. Choosing not to have children isn't about being selfish, it's about recognizing what kind of life you want to lead.
Exactly. For some people, it's about freedom. Freedom to travel, focus on their careers, or dedicate their time and energy to causes they care about. And for others, it's about acknowledging that they might not be emotionally or financially ready to take on such a life-altering role.
And let's not forget that raising children is a massive responsibility. It's not just about providing for them financially, it's about being present, emotionally and mentally. Many people today are asking themselves if they can truly give 100% to parenthood. And if the answer is no, they're choosing not to have kids.
That's such an important point, Jamie. And it's also worth mentioning that society's expectations around family are shifting as well. The idea of the nuclear family is no longer the gold standard.
Yes. Families today look so different from what they did 50 years ago. We're seeing more single parents by choice, blended families, and even co-parenting arrangements where friends come together to raise a child.
It's amazing to see how people are redefining family on their own terms. For example, some people are choosing communal living setups, where a group of adults shares parenting responsibilities. It's such a creative way to build a support system.
I love that idea. It really challenges the notion that parenting has to be done by two people in a traditional marriage. Why not expand the circle and involve friends, extended family, or even neighbors?
Exactly. And these non-traditional setups are showing us that family isn't about fitting into a specific mold. It's about love, support, and shared values.
And the best part is that kids growing up in these diverse family structures are learning that there's no one right way to be a family. They're growing up with a more inclusive and open-minded view of the world.
That's such a great point. But Jamie, do you think there are challenges that come with these new family models?
Definitely. One of the biggest challenges is that society hasn't fully caught up yet. While acceptance is growing, there's still judgment from some people when families don't follow the traditional path.
Yes. And there are also legal challenges. For example, non-married couples raising kids might face difficulties with things like custody or inheritance rights. And in co-parenting arrangements with friends, there's often no legal framework to support that kind of setup.
Exactly. The laws were written with traditional families in mind, so it can be tricky to navigate these new models. But I think as these family structures become more common, we'll start to see changes in policy.
I agree. Change takes time, but it's happening. And in the meantime, it's so inspiring to see people pushing the boundaries and creating family structures that work for them.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest takeaway here is that family is what you make it. Whether it's your biological relatives, your friends, or your chosen community, what matters most is love and support.
Well said, Jamie. And for our listeners, we'd love to hear from you. How are you redefining family in your own life?
Yes. Send us your stories, your thoughts, and your questions. Let's keep this conversation going.
And remember, no matter how you choose to build your family, it's valid and meaningful. Whether you're married, single, or co-parenting with friends, there's no one right way to create a family that works for you.
It's about building connections that are real and meaningful. And sometimes, family can be the people who love you the most, whether or not they share your bloodline.
That's exactly the beauty of what we're seeing today. Family doesn't have to look like the old-school traditional version. It can be something entirely new, and it can still be incredibly fulfilling.
And what I love is how open-minded younger generations are about all of this. They're questioning long-held beliefs, and that's a good thing. They're not afraid to redefine what family means. And as more people embrace these changes, the world becomes a much more inclusive place.
So true. And as we wrap up today's conversation, we want to leave you with this thought. Family is about connection, love, and support. It's a reflection of what you value, not what society dictates.
Exactly. So whatever your family looks like, embrace it. We're all shaping the future of what family means, and we're excited to see what it will continue to become.
Thanks for listening to EPT. We hope today's discussion inspired you to think about your own family and how you define it.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic. What's your take on how family is evolving in today's world?
Let us know in the comments below, and feel free to suggest any topics you'd like us to explore next. We're always looking for fresh ideas and love hearing what you're interested in.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with anyone who might enjoy the conversation.
We'll see you next time with more exciting discussions. Take care, and remember, your story matters.